everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Best You a Coaching podcast. It's Gary here again, and thank you very, very much for joining me. I hope you're all doing great and continuing to invest in whatever work you've committed to get you closer to being the best you. This is going to be the final pod of 2023, and with that body of time and that body of evidence of what we did, what we accomplished, when we accomplished it, how we accomplished it, and why, and what the outcomes of that were, it gives us an opportunity to really reflect, doesn't it? And personally, this year has been a year of significant change for me, mostly on the professional front, of course. If anyone's been following along, you'll know exactly what I mean by that. And I'm anticipating that this is all very much for the benefit of my community that I'm hoping to serve, and it gives me a bit of a pause as well to appreciate the reach and value that I have given thus far, and that I also plan to give through my ongoing service in 2024 and beyond. And the reason that I'm specifically mentioning this is to reaffirm, mostly to myself, quite honestly, of why I decided to park and hopefully retire my corporate project management career and concentrate on serving the communities in which I'm involved in a more deep and meaningful way through my coaching, through the podcast, through the blogs, through the future course offerings and such as well. And I came to the stark realisation that I just couldn't do that off the side of my desk anymore, and I couldn't do that at the level that would have been genuinely impactful to the folks that I was working for and with. So I took the plunge, and almost 2 months in now, and I'm steadily building the foundations that will hopefully serve me to serve others to a greater level of meaning going forward. You might remember, and I'd said in the last pod, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and that absolutely 100% goes for me too. And I truly believe this. I believe that this journey will take me and more importantly each of you listening on to a more fulfilling state and stage of your life. So let's continue to do this together and see where it takes us. What about that, eh? Okay, enough about me. What you can expect in this episode is that we're going to work through a review of the recent blog that's centred on setting intention, which was a bit of an extension to the previous blog, which was entitled Goal Setting. And in hindsight, maybe I should have done them in reverse order, but it only really truly occurred to me afterwards that there is more of a strategic and kind of front end work that happens prior to getting down to the actual tactic of setting goals. Whether those are strategic or tactical, it kind of doesn't really matter. But before all of that, I'll discuss my own personal journey up to this point as well in the what have I been up to section. So what have I been up to since we last chatted there a couple of weeks back? I'm continuing, of course, my core passion, and that is the one-on-one coaching that I'm very fortunate to be able to do. And I'm coming to the calendar end of some ongoing client engagements, which is both exciting and a little bit daunting. You know, that the agreement was that we would do it up to and including the end of 2023. So it's kind of exciting, a little bit daunting, and I've gotten so used to meeting some of my existing clients so regularly that I'm genuinely going to miss the ongoing conversations, the development and the camaraderie that's been established. But that's part of life. Like, not everyone's built or requires an ongoing coach in perpetuity, and we need an opportunity to give them, to work on what needs to be worked on, give them the opportunity to actually go away, reap the benefits of that, continue to do their ongoing development work, and if there's anything else that they need in the future, then hopefully they would think of me when they're coming back to do some coaching as well. So yeah, that's going to be quite exciting for them and me, reaching into 2024. I have continued some of my mentoring conversations with colleagues and associates within the business community to kind of pick the brains on do's and don'ts when starting their business. I did mention this in the last pod as well, and kind of focusing on what would you have done differently, based on any major gains or any major missteps that were taken along the way. What would you like to impart on me? And I had a wonderful conversation with one of I think I would like to call him my mentor last week to have a conversation about that. And it just brings about such a different perspective and then a lot more clarity or a lot more opportunity clarity as we go forward as well. So I'm going to continue to do that. I don't imagine that will ever end. It's a journey and not a destination, which is a wee bit of a theme of what we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Continuing also with my weekly journal, which I haven't missed yet, even including I was away for a week in Mexico, and had an opportunity to kind of rest and recuperate and relax, but also still to do a wee bit of work when I was down there to keep it going. And part of that was of course the journal as well. It still has that wee bit of a project management feel to it, kind of status reporty. This is what I did, this is what I didn't do, this is what I plan to do next time. But each week, with each passing week, I kind of modify the topics that are in there, and it gets a wee bit more personal. So I don't know that I'm going to say right yet that I'm a journaler, but I'm getting there. So I'm quite enjoying it as well, actually. And also continuing to work through the training on the Project Management Institute Authorised Training Partner Initiative through Mount Royal University. To be dead honest, folks, I really should have finished that by now. I have one full day to go, which is on the technical project management stuff, and then I'll do the end assessment and get that organised. So by the next time we speak, I will have done that and have that completed and be confirmed as a PMI ATP as well, which is of course the authorised training partner. And then I did last week, I wanted to just talk about quickly about a seminar I attended last week through the Mastermind community that I'm a part of for right now, and it was on time management and productivity. That was the title. And it was by a fellow by the name of Josh Hull, who is part of the Mastermind community and provides and delivers that sort of service to his clients. And it was absolutely fantastic. There was lots of real learnings. And what I find in time management, maybe not so much productivity for now, but what I find in time management is most people know the what. They know, what they have to do, what steps could and should be taken, why it's important, what the benefits that you can extract from that and that sort of thing. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of the how. And the how, I think, becomes the part where people will actually decide whether they're going to continue with this or they're not. And Josh went into a lot of the how. Here's some tools, some templates, some tips, some tricks. This is what you can expect to get if you put the work in. This is what you won't get if you don't put the work in, and things like that, and really focusing on that how. And I think it gives me a bit of food for thought in terms of, getting a little bit deeper, essentially, because that's what he did. And the time management part then really was an absolute link into, if you manage your time appropriately, then your productivity will be positively affected by that as well. And getting into a little bit deeper and saying, right, we know what the what is, we know what the why is, we know, the where and the when or whatever that's going to look like, but let's start to talk about the how. And the how, in my coaching experience, would be the immediate next steps, the steps that the client is going to take to start to delve a bit deeper, to start to take some meaningful action and start to move forward on that sort of thing. And for whatever reason, Josh just managed for me to hit the mark on that and provide just enough detail that I'm able to put some of that in practice. I'm able to actually lend some of that learning and experience over to my clients as well. Some of my clients have already talked about this in the last week since that as well. So I really enjoyed that as well, and that's one of the great things about being part of the Mastermind community. There's just daily learnings that go on there, but that one really struck a chord with me. I also took what we call the uncomfortable action to distribute my first formal quote or proposal document to some key resources in my Warham network for both feedback and genuinely potential consideration for potential engagement going forward as well. And I don't mind admitting, folks, it was quite daunting. I most likely procrastinated a wee bit because I had finished it just before I went on holiday, and then I didn't write the emails for about another couple of weeks after I got back, certainly over a week since I got back as well, and it's just, you're getting to that point where, is this kind of salesy? Am I a salesperson now? That's really not what I was hoping to do, but in order to be able to serve the community, I need to let them know what the offering looks like. So got that finalised, got that out there to some key resources, some still to go as well, but I'm glad it's out there now, and there's not a lot I can do to take it back, and hopefully I'll get some positive feedback about that as we approach into the new year as well. And here's another thing that I did as part of the Launchpad Accelerator program that I'm doing through Mastermind. They said we're going to embark upon this 30-day challenge, and I wasn't 100% sure actually what it was, because it was all on Facebook, and I'm not a big social media guy for right now, so I miss a lot of stuff there. And so then I asked the community, look, I've seen some references to the 30-day challenge. What actually is that? And what it was is, for each day for 30 days, you either go live on Facebook, but most people are just recording a video up to 3 minutes, talk about whatever you want to talk about that you think would be topical or of interest to the remainder of the community, and then just publish it and see what type and style of feedback you get. So it's to do a number of things. One is to get used to seeing yourself on video. 2 is to give yourself a chance to practice, of course. And 3 is to take that uncomfortable action to get it out there and see what actual feedback you would get, if any. And I have to say, that I mentioned uncomfortable action there a couple of times, and I've really enjoyed it. I wasn't looking forward to it at all. I really wasn't. I was kind of thinking, man, like, what am I going to talk about? 3 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're trying to sit and think of a topic and getting that organised, it's quite daunting. But as soon as I started it, I actually started it on the beach in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, which was great, and I've loved it. I think today, as I record here, not to stale date the podcast in any way, but I think today's day 15, so literally exactly halfway through today, and I've literally been making up the topics each day, depending on how the day has gone, depending on some of the learnings I'm gaining, depending on some of the observations that I'm making. And what I now have is a little bit of video collateral that I could use in other areas of my work as well. And I'm going to start to get them out there. I've actually started with my family on a group chat that we have, and also with a couple of key friends as well, just sending the video each day saying, here's information that you might want to know. So I've really enjoyed it. I have to say, normally I don't really like listening to my voice, and I've never really had much experience of looking at myself and talking as well, so this is a first for me, and I have enjoyed it. So it's maybe going to get me to take a little bit more advanced steps in the future of maybe thinking that these podcasts might end up becoming video, or doing some other video work as well, because I have enjoyed it. And some of the topics I've talked about is, resting, taking a break, the importance of presence, being kind to yourself, community, intention, gratefulness, balance, stickiness of the information that you're taking on, momentum, perseverance, work ethic, and things like that. So a lot of kind of businessy things, but certainly on a human side as well. And I've managed to do it in the Rocky Mountains, I've managed to do it in Puerto Vallarta, I've managed to do it on a walk out here in Calgary, and after a run and things like that as well. So it's been really, really enjoyable. So if anyone's listening and interested in seeing the videos, please do get in touch with me and let me know, and I'd be happy to send you one per day for 30 days, because by the time you catch up, I'll be complete the challenge, of course. So it has been a busy time, and I've absolutely loved taking this time to continue to commit to who I want to be, what I want to be, and how I want to serve, and I am absolutely confident that that the good things are coming from this as well. In terms of books on the go, I'm still working through Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is an interesting thing for me. I did not read one single page on the 7 days of holiday, and I'd taken that book down. I'd taken down a John Grisham book that I'm reading, and just to give myself a bit of entertainment, and I didn't crack the spine on either of the books at all. And it was just a chance for some downtime, a chance for myself and my love to spend some time together and just kind of take it easy. But interesting, I thought the more time I had, the more I would read, because I do love reading, but I never quite got to that as well. So kind of fascinating. Anyway, on to the actual content. So we're just going to go through a wee bit of an overview of the blog number 8, which, as I mentioned there at the intro, is on setting intentions. And on the blog, I'd started with a question, and it was basically just kind of, hypothetical or experiential, I guess. And have you ever had a conversation with someone that didn't quite go the way that it was intended to go, or the way that you're assuming it was intended to go, and it ended up with either them or you saying, well, that wasn't my intent, and then you would respond, or the other person might respond saying, I don't care what your intention was, this is what you did. And I know I've been involved in that type and style of conversation many times, and I'm sure that many of you have too as well. And I've counselled various clients, about that, that giving people an out in a conversation when you genuinely don't know the actual materiality of what they were intending in the conversation. And for many clients, especially during potentially difficult conversations, they would say something like, they would say, "This is what happened, but I know you didn't mean that," or "I know that you didn't mean to hurt his feelings," or "I know you didn't mean to say that to her." And I keep saying, you should probably stop saying that, because you actually absolutely don't know what their intent was. You actually don't know, what the meaning behind the words were or anything like that. So the best thing to do is just to zip it and let the other person speak, and you might find out information that you didn't previously know that will help serve you to support them moving forward, to help smooth over the situation that happened, to help people learn from that and get better going forward. So don't assume you know the intent at all with anything, because you literally don't, unless it's from within yourself. And maybe even don't let people give you a pass when they say, "I know you didn't mean that." You can say, "Actually, you know what, you don't need to say that. This is actually what I meant to do," and then move forward from there. So it did make me think about intent as a topic in and of itself, and how clear we are with our intentions, what our intentions are, what our intentions aren't, and how they can be used for good, how they could be potentially weaponized, used for us, used against us, and when they're most present. And that's a lot to consider, I know, of course, and I think a lot of it is to do with presence of self and understanding of current circumstances, and what your intended outcomes from the interactions that you're involved with are. Now, I know that you can't predict everything that's going to manifest itself through your daily life, but if you can get clear about what you intend to happen, how you intend to behave, how you intend to react, this is going to help fashion your thinking, your feelings, your actions towards whatever it is you can influence and control, to give you the best opportunity of these things becoming reality, and the best opportunity of you showing up as your best self when you're at that spot as well. So that's key for that as well. So I then went on to talk about what intentions are. They're conscious and deliberate thoughts or desires that guide our actions and shape our experience. And this is where it gets interesting, as you start to get a bit of an idea that they're rooted more in the present moment, and the focus on how we want to show up and engage during the interactions. And I do refer quite a bit throughout the blog and to core values, and always going back to your core values and having your intentions be extensions of your core values. And if you want a wee bit more information about core values, go to episode 3 for more information on that. And that starts to breed alignment with who we are, who we want to be, what we want to provide, what we want to contribute, with the interactions that we're having as well. So the key is that we're intentional with our intentions. And I know that's probably not very good English, but they shouldn't be random, they shouldn't be haphazard, they shouldn't be left to chance, or even worse, I think, conveniently labelled after the fact, because that's just a hit and a hope. That's just a bit of a swing, and something worked out the way that you wanted, and you're like, yeah, well, that's what I intended. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then I go on to say that they should be positive, empowering statements that reflect your own core values, your aspirations, your desired qualities, and they will serve you as a compass and guiding your thoughts, emotions, behaviours and actions towards what you're hoping to be, your desired outcomes as well. So what intentions are not, they're not the same as wishes or goals. They are about the process that you follow. Now the key part of that is that it's the process that you follow in your overall approach to your life, and your intentions focus on more so on the present moment. I did explain the relationship between intentions and goals in the blog, and there is a complementary relationship between them, but you should know the difference between a desired intention and an established and more tangible goal. And you can read more about that in the blog if you're interested in just kind of delving in a wee bit more there as well. Why is setting intentions important? Basically, at all times in your life, you get to decide how you react, how you act, how you react, how you behave, how you show up. This is absolute. It's just a fact. And in fact, it's the only thing that you can truly control in this wondrous existence that we call life. Everything else, quite simply, is not within your control. Have you ever Have you ever tried to get a kid or kids out the door for school in the morning and they're just not doing exactly what you need them to do from a regimented perspective? You know, have you ever tried to organise another human being to do anything at any point in your life? If you have, then you'll realise how little control you actually have on anything other than yourself. With the best of intentions, with the best of goal setting, with the best of plans, with the best of communication, you still don't have as much control as you would probably hope to have, I would venture a guess to say. And even then, that isn't so easy when you have everything all set in place and you're willing. Like, you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't willing and interested in some way in your own journey, in your own development, your own contribution, or whatever other motivation that you have. And either way, just to take this opportunity to thank you again for listening. But as I say, you're willing to change. You're willing to have intention. You're willing to live a life of purpose and dedication and such. And that's difficult. So try controlling a circumstance or situation where the other party is not willing or the other parties are not willing. It's not easy. So just think about that. And I say that to give yourself a break, not to compound anything that might seem difficult at this particular point. Anyway, why is it important to set intentions? Because if you don't, you'll get what you get. And I'm not a betting man at all, but if I were, I'd bet that you won't be wholly satisfied with what you get if you don't set intentions and try and work towards those intentions. Maybe you'll get a fluke now and again, and as I mentioned earlier there, that you could label it after the fact and say, oh yeah, I intended that to happen in the first place. People can see through that, by the way, but I think it would just be good fortune rather than any sort of purposeful output. So as I said in the blog, thinking, preparing and planning about your overall intention can and will positively impact the various aspects of your life as you go forward. And setting the importance of setting intentions is categorized on the 4 areas that we described in there: alignment and clarity, which helps align our thoughts, emotions and actions with our core values and purpose, providing clarity and direction. A positive mindset, setting positive intentions can and will shift our mindset and foster an optimism, a resilience and a contribution to a more expansive attitude. Focus and motivation, defined intentions are going to help us stay focused on what truly matters to us, thus allowing us to identify or avoid or minimise distractions and maintain clarity going forward. And it helps create a more fulfilling life as well. They can contribute to a sense of fulfilment, a sense of intention, a sense of fulfilment, a sense of satisfaction by aligning our actions with what our deepest desires are, our core values and such. And as I posed the question in the blog, who doesn't want more alignment? Who doesn't want more clarity, more positivity, more focus, more motivation in their quest to lead a more purposeful and fulfilling life? I don't think that's anyone listening to this right now. We then talked about the power of intention and how it can help us influence our thoughts, emotions and actions and contribute to the areas of, I talked a wee bit about some sciencey stuff about neuroplasticity and the impact of strengthening the neural pathways in the brain associated with positive thoughts and behaviours. I then also talked about the law of attraction. And I said that like attracts like. You never know what relationships can be struck up by being intentional, and then a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you can dream it, you can do it, and it's a powerful thing to set intentions, and it's powerful in a number of ways, and they are all good when your intentions are good, of course. So how do you actually set intentions? In reality, it's genuinely going to be different for everyone. However, what was discussed in the blog is certainly at least a solid framework for you to use as you continue your intentional journey going forward. So starting with identifying, understanding and curating your core values and your desires. Folks, this is so important. Like, taking the time to clearly establish what your core values and desires are provides you with, you can call it whatever you want, you can call it your North Star, so to speak, which is then going to help you establish your intentions in a genuine, authentic and meaningful way to you. They could be specific, they should be specific and actionable, and this is where it gets a wee bit of the complementary part in terms of the goal setting process. Setting intentions that are specific, that are actionable, that are measurable, will help you increase your own clarity and focus of what they are why they're important now, how to build into them, how to measure against them, how to learn from them as you understand how they manifest themselves going forward. Using positive language within your intention setting. Why would you use any form of negativity or negative language when the whole point is that you're trying to improve your life? Don't ever do that, ever, please. Positivity is basically where it's at, and even if you're used to having more of a negative slant on things, and people with a negative slant sometimes mask it as realistic or some other justification, but just stop that. My recommendation for you would be just to stop that for a wee bit. Try the positive approach and get in touch with me directly if it completely derails or fails you. Spoiler alert, it won't. Not even close. And I'm not talking about substituting a lack of reality with positivity, but just taking it away from the negative slant and trying a more positive slant. What if it works out, rather than how will I react when it doesn't work out? Things like that are important as well. Write them down. There are numerous studies out there over years and years and years that reinforce the efficacy of follow through on things that are recorded in some way. It takes it from intangible, like a nice idea, to something a little bit more serious, a little bit more interesting or purposeful as well. So however that works for you in terms of recording it, just give it a go and see how it goes. And then building in regular reviews. This is where your reflection time is very important. When something works out the way that you're hoping it works out as anticipated, that's fantastic, that's terrific. Get inquisitive as to why that happened and keep doing that. When it doesn't work out as intended, guess what? Get inquisitive about that as well, and then do something with that information to either course correct or make a different path for next time. There's just so much rich information in everything that we do, and sometimes it does get a wee bit disheartening for me, quite honestly, when I see people leave so much on the table, so to speak, with regards to the learnings that they could be gaining from the interactions and the way that they're living their life as well. Manifesting your intentions. Okay, so you've created and recorded, and now it's time to actually put them into action and into play, and I called that manifesting them. Again, please remember, this is just a guide. It's in no way intended to be absolutely prescriptive. Just listen, take a peek at the blog, use what you think is going to work for you, and then just park the rest and move on. But a couple of things that I'd suggested was visualization, like visualizing yourself already embodying your intentions. I have to admit and be really honest with you folks, this is a bit of a struggle for me, as it takes a lot more work and it takes a lot more practice than I would like it to. But when I do it, when I dedicate to it, it works. And then when you get to live the intention, I find I'm already so much more prepared when I'm actually in the moment. It's kind of like almost like deja vu, where I feel like I've been there before, because I've done that visualization work. I've given myself an opportunity to see how I would act and react in certain situations, and that's pretty cool, to be dead honest. Using affirmations, positive affirmations, helps reduce, ideally eliminate, but certainly reduce negative mind chatter, which will help with elements of imposter syndrome that might creep in and can access some of the conscious and subconscious limiting beliefs that you might be carrying around with you, whether you're super aware of those or not. It's worth a try if you've never tried it before. The affirmation can be manifested verbally. You could be talking to yourself, you could be recording it like I'm doing on the 30-day challenge, or it could just be your inner talk as well. You can write them down. Whatever media works for you on the affirmations, give it a go and see how it works. Gratitude practices. I started doing this a few years ago, actually, folks, and primarily I started doing it at night, just basically where I would put my head on the pillow just as I'm about to fall asleep. I would give myself a big breath, and then I would think of one thing that I was grateful for that day, and I've continued that practice up to this day, and it's ended up spilling into other areas of my life. And I just can't think what is not to be gained by expressing regular and repetitive expressions of sincere gratitude. I don't know, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but what I found for me is that the more I express gratitude, the more I became exposed to further areas of gratitude as well. There is much more out there to be grateful for than sometimes a closed mind can think about, which has helped with my overall mindset and positivity about life. So I would thoroughly recommend that you try some gratitude practices if you don't already. And then overcoming challenges. We're always going to face challenges to what or how we hope things were going to work out. Life absolutely is not linear, and the sooner that we appreciate that, the more that we can learn to lean into it and enjoy the journey. You're going to face internal and external challenges all the time, so please don't think that that's a sign that you're doing something wrong or that you're fundamentally flawed in some way. It means that you're living more authentically, more presently, and trying to expand your life intention and living a more conscious life. All of those are great things. So common challenges that we discussed there are limiting beliefs. We all have them in some capacity. Understanding what they are, where they came from as much as you can for now, and how they're not serving you is going to help provide you with more clarity to be able to use them for a better cause for you. And then distractions. Oh boy, we don't need any encouragement to get distracted in today's world, do we? They're absolutely everywhere in every waking hour for us in today's world. So unless we properly reduce or eliminate them, and that's exactly what we have to do, you're going to be triggered by distractions all the time, and you have to understand how they impact you, how they're impacting the success you're trying to accomplish, and then just once you've identified it, take appropriate steps to minimise or eliminate the distractions. Control them as much as you possibly can, and this can be incremental. It doesn't have to be a big bang or a cold turkey moment, but just incremental progress is absolutely a-okay for distraction reduction as well. And then reviewing and adjusting your intentions as you go forward. And this was the final area, just to ensure that you appreciate that living true to your intentions is a journey, not a destination, as I mentioned before. And it takes a level of commitment, a level of endeavour, adjustment, learning, relearning to continue to get closer to being the best you. And I do try to mention that at least once in every pod as a bit of a plug, because that's the title, of course. But how do we do that? How do we continue to use the learnings as we go forward in this journey for intention setting? You do some reviews. Just schedule some reviews, put them in your calendar, as formal or as informal as they need, but just an opportunity to stop, pause, reflect, learn, move on. And then self-reflection. This should truly be an everyday endeavour, all day, everyday endeavour. As I mentioned earlier, there is so much data around for us to learn from. Why would we not try and access some of it to get better and then live a more fulfilling life as well? And then be flexible and adaptable to the way that things are going to go. Some things will work, some things won't work. Being okay with that is a tremendous start for you, and then being open to learning at every single stage will help you have forward momentum at all times. And then the final thing is essentially having accountability and support, and that means different things for different people. But just consider, what does your network look like when it comes to accountability? Do you share what you're doing with some folks in your network? If so, with who? If not, why not? Like, constantly challenging yourself but not rubbishing yourself or your ideas. Striving for continuous improvement is what sets apart the average to the good to the great, and the great to the exceptional people in this life, folks. So consider, who and where do you want to be, and what are you willing to do to get there? Okie dokie, I hope this episode of the Best You Coaching Podcast was a valuable use of your time, and that you'll continue to join me for more episodes as we move forward together. If you did find it valuable, I would so appreciate if you would share with others as we continue to try to build a community of like-minded folks from around the world to help us continue the work towards being the absolute best that we can all be. Don't forget to take a peek at GaryGillen.com for any more information, including previous blogs, previous pods and such. And until next time, please do take care of yourself, folks, and all the very best to you in your journey. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, take care now. Cheerio.